Right, so the USS Gerald R. the most advanced aircraft carrier in the US Navy, has been pulled from the Mediterranean and sent to the Caribbean. The Pentagon statement said the deployment was to detect, monitor, and disrupt illicit actors, the familiar phrasing of a counter-narcotic mission if ever I heard one. Well, the record currently stands at 9 supposed US counter-narcotics operations since early September, leaving roughly 40 people dead. None were publicly identified as traffickers. No narcotic seizures were displayed, no chain of custody, no court filings, not even a photograph of any contraband to justify any of the killings. 9 strikes, 40 dead, zero evidence. So what, we're supposed to take Trump at his word for this? America did that over the White House renovations too, and look what happened there. But whilst all this was going on, though, we have Colombia too, don't we, who have been Washington's anchor for 2 decades of drug war. When the missiles hit civilian boats off its own coast, Bogota didn't defend the strikes, so it condemned them too. The Colombian government called them acts of murder and violations of international law, which of course they are. That was extraordinary on its own, perhaps, but it was also the first signal that Latin America was finished accepting counter-narcotics as a diplomatic cover for unilateral killing. And when Trump, in his infinite lack of wisdom, escalated further by promising that the land is going to be next, pledging to hit them very hard, the fiction of limited policing was gone. He said it on record. There was no congressional authorization, no oversight, just a threat of escalation, as if international borders were just a technicality to him, a minor inconvenience. So from that point, this was no longer about cocaine, it was about control and, well, let's face it, oil as well at the end of the day. But the first blow to Washington's plans landed right there, the moral collapse of its own policing narrative. For decades, it's relied on consent built from fear and dependency. But that ended the day Colombia called the strikes murder. Once an erstwhile ally says your enforcement is unlawful killing, the doctrine starts to rot from the inside, and the same arrogance that fired those missiles soon picked up a pen. Because within days, the US Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control decided to sanction Colombia's president, Gustavo Petro, his wife, Veronica Alcocer, his son, Nicolas Petro Burgos, and a close advisor under counter-narcotics-related authorities. The same legal machinery once reserved for drug cartels was now turned on an elected head of state for denouncing American actions. Petro, he called it a paradox. Decades fighting trafficking only to be branded as part of it in the end. He appointed a US human rights lawyer as his defense, Washington now punishing the man who had helped it the most. That was the second blow. It proved that the purpose of these authorities wasn't law, it was obedience. The White House wanted to frighten the region into silence, but what it produced instead was a wall of resistance to it.